Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Aubrielle, your host for Divine Love in Living, where we shift from living in lack to living in love. And in today's video, I'd like to give you guys an analogy that may help you to process emotions as you're feeling them, especially fear. Fear can be a big one that's hard to actually connect with and sink into and feel. Often we're running from fear. We don't want to feel it. And we'll also do a whole host of things to try to secure ourselves in life so that we don't have to feel afraid and be afraid of things. So this analogy is one I'll often use when doing various things in coaching and working with people, just because it applies so perfectly to the experience of processing emotion when things come up. So when we have an experience that feels overwhelming, that feels really difficult, one of the things we often forget is that every emotion is temporary. And emotions are energy in motion. It's just energy that's looking to move. It's looking to freely flow and not get stuck. And oftentimes what happens is we'll feel an emotion and it will trigger our mind to think a thought. And then when our mind starts thinking that thought, we attach to the thought. We basically jump on that train of thought. And we talk about the trains and trains of thought in a different video I made about meditation and how to connect with meditating more easily. I'll drop the link to that video down in the description. But once we've felt an emotion and we think the thought, we connect with the thought, we attach to the thought, now we're stuck. And this is one of the ways that you can remember to help yourself to not stay stuck in being attached. So when we think about a child who has a nightmare, in my experience being a mother myself, there are 4 ways we can choose to respond to that child who wakes up with a nightmare. So the first way is we can completely ignore them. Just pretend like they're not calling out, it's not happening, they're not afraid, and tell ourselves they'll eventually fall back to sleep. They just need to learn to self-soothe, they're fine. And this is synonymous to when we feel an emotion and we're like, no, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm all set, I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I'm good, totally fine. And we literally just tell ourselves what I'm feeling isn't happening. We gaslight ourselves. We completely ignore the emotional experience that we're having and just decide, I'm totally fine, I'm gonna forget that all this is happening and move on. And then we find some way to distract ourselves or move on to something else, and we ignore that emotion was coming up to be felt. Second way we can respond to a child who wakes up in the middle of the night with a nightmare is to go in and say to them, what was your dream about? Now, say they go, oh, there's a monster under my bed, or there's a monster in the closet. And your response is, there's no monster. That was a dream. It's not real. You can go back to sleep. It's fine. Again, completely bypass the emotional experience. So we do this when we intellectualize our feelings. When something comes up, we're feeling a feeling. It's an opportunity for us to move that feeling into a flow state so it doesn't have to stay stuck in our energetic being anymore. It doesn't have to get suppressed. We're going to allow it to flow. But when we intellectualize it, what we do is we cut off that emotion's ability to be seen and heard and felt, and instead we talk ourselves out of it. And this can happen when, say, something comes up, but we tell ourselves things like, well, it's really not that bad. I shouldn't be upset about this. Other people have it so much worse than me. We come up with all these reasons to talk ourselves out of feeling what we're feeling. So that's the second way. The third way we can choose to respond to a child that wakes up in the middle of the night with a nightmare is go in and say, what happened? Why are you scared? Now, say this time they say, oh, I had a dream where I died, and, or they say, I had a dream where you died and there was a fire or there was a car accident and, I died, or maybe they're telling you a dream about how they got kidnapped, and you start getting feeling anxiety around it, and you start saying like, oh my gosh, how did you die, or where did you die, or oh, I hope that's not really going to happen. And now what you've done is you've gone into the fear with the child. You're just stepping into the same state that they're in. Now you're being afraid with them. That's certainly not going to help the child feel like they're safe to go back to sleep, right? Now they're like, whew, I'm scared. Mom or dad or whoever's taking care of me is scared too. This is not good. And that's just going to amp up. It's going to hype up that experience, right? And we do this when things happen and we start looping on like, oh my gosh, that happened. I hope this doesn't happen. This can't happen. I need to make sure that doesn't happen. I need to make sure this does happen. And we just go into like micromanagement of the fear mode. And we go into anxiety and we do our best to really just start managing and controlling everything so that everything's going to be okay. Now, the fourth way you can respond to a child, and this is the recommended way out of all the 4 options. The fourth thing you can do is a child wakes up in the middle of the night, you go into their room, and you say, hey, what happened? And they tell you what their dream was about. You know, maybe it was a fire-breathing dragon that showed up in their room and they were scared that this dragon was going to, you know, incinerate everything. And you can say to them, it sounds like a really scary dream. I hear you and I see you. And I know that that fear is really hard to feel. And I know that you don't feel safe right now because of the dream you just had. However, I'm going to sit here with you until you do feel safe. I'm just going to sit here until you feel ready to fall back to sleep. Because I know the dream isn't real. But what you're feeling right now is very, very real. I'm going to honor that and just be with you until this feeling passes. What happens in that scenario, especially when we do this to ourselves, right? Something happens, the fear comes up, and our mind starts thinking thoughts. Those are the dreams. Those are the nightmares. And when we can realize like, all right, I'm feeling an emotion right now that's really intense and it's trying to overpower me, but I'm going to be the parent that holds space for this child, this emotion. I'm going to hold the space for this emotion to be fully felt and experienced so that it doesn't have to be stuck anymore. It can come back into a flow state and it can feel safe to move. It can feel safe to be felt. It can be seen, it can be heard, it can be given unconditional love. I'm not going to judge this emotion and wish it would stop and try to make it go away. I'm just going to totally be with it. And that's when the energy gets to move. And guess what? Now that energy's been set free. And it's not going to be manifesting your life experience anymore. Next time, the fear may be a little less. Maybe it's going to be the same. But the more you build that trust with yourself that I am safe to feel this. I'm able to feel all of these emotions and not be derailed by them. I'm okay to do this. I get that I'm human and every emotion is temporary and all I've got to do is let myself feel this and move through it. And then everything just keeps flowing. Everything will be okay. That's where we build trust with ourselves because we're never going to be able to control everything that happens. We are able to control how we experience it, how we feel it, how we work with it. So next time you feel an overwhelming emotion, maybe something fearful comes up for you and you catch yourself going down that familiar path of trying to control and going into the anxiety and getting attached to what's happening, see if you can take a step back just for a moment, even if it's just for a minute, to pause and say, what's happening trying to help me feel? Can I let myself be present with this emotion and feel it until my nervous system feels safe to go back to sleep again, to be regulated again, to not be dysregulated by what's going on? So hopefully you found this video helpful. Hopefully this information will help you the next time you're in one of those scenarios. If you found this content and information helpful to you, I would invite you to give a thumbs up to this video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like, and also feel free to leave a comment below, especially if you feel like this information would be helpful for other people to hear, because the more activity that's coming in through this channel, the more this is going to be able to reach more people. And I would love for this information to be reaching everyone it can be helpful to. Also, if you feel like you would love to be able to feel and be more present with what you're feeling and not get derailed so much by emotion, and you'd like to connect with whatever that shift in you would be that could help bring that on board more for you, I invite you to click the description below to book a clarity call, and we can talk about how you can be more present with what you're feeling and what tools would be most useful to you as you go through that experience. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world, and hope you're able to join for the next video. Bye now.